we get down to this plateau, and all of a sudden I see Skip get tangled up in some junipers or something, and he's doing a pirouette, and I see a gun go flying. I went like, my friggin' gun, right? It wasn't my gun. It was his gun. He threw his gun, and he cradled mine to his chest and fell into a snowbank. And I went, oh, sweet.
I've seen him do that before, but it was a beer.
Yeah, but he saved the beer.
Of course.
Well, we're sitting up here at camp, and we're going to call this episode of Northwoods Whitetails Camp. I am your host, Travis Williams. Thank you all for listening, and welcome to another episode of Northwoods Whitetails. I'm sitting down tonight. Again, we're up in the North Country. We won't tell people exactly where we are. We'll let them guess. But we're up in the North Country of New Hampshire. I'm sitting down with my dad, Bob Williams.
Hi, how you doing?
Skippy, a.k.a. Big Daddy Peranto.
And don't forget it.
The original Big Daddy. And Stu.
Yeah, baby.
So this is going to be an uncut episode, so there might be a little swearing, so put the little tykes away. We'll keep it, PG-13?
PG-13.
Okay. So I really wanted to do this one. It's been on my mind for a while. Wanted to get the crew together. There's another almost North Star member of the team that's not here, and we blame Mike.
And we blame Mike. Yeah, it's all Mike's fault that Greg's not here.
Yeah, Greg Saunier, a good friend and a camp partaker, unfortunately couldn't make it up to join us on this episode. So we're upset with Mike. Mike works with him, and allegedly, I don't know though. This Mike guy, it's always Mike.
Yeah. Well, Mike has, he's got a week's vacation.
Do you think it's like Mike's real or?
I'm not sure Mike's even real. We need to talk to Greg about that next hunting camp.
He might have got a wind of this whole thing and probably screwed over Greg anyways.
I don't know if Greg was a big fan anyway. He made my New Hampshire YouTube video with a little tighty-whitey comment. I'm not sure if he liked that too much.
Oh,
That was great.
that's right. Yeah, he was in that.
Yeah.
So
Sorting out his underwear.
the reason I wanted to have you guys on is, obviously you, Dad, lugging me around the woods. By the way, happy birthday. My dad's birthday was Sunday?
Sunday.
Father's
Look
Day.
at that. We know it, and you don't.
It's part I knew. I just can't remember the day. 6/16. He doesn't let me
16.
forget. That always points it out on the clock. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of heritage. There's a lot of. We're outside, so if you hear some background music, that's what you're hearing. A little Harley going by. I wanted to get together for this because camp has become such a tradition, and as a matter of fact, last year was a big milestone for us because it was how many years?
40 years.
40 years. You guys have been coming up.
Yep, together.
Coming up north.
North.
And,
Now,
we haven't shot each other.
Yeah, right.
I don't even think we've ever gotten
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
I
No.
don't think it ever gets that way. Well, when a particular someone came, there was a little bit of riff here and there. What was that dude's name that came that one year when Lloyd came up?
Oh, I don't know. There was too many of the ones that came with Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
God bless Lloyd.
That shouldn't have come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. God bless Lloyd.
Yeah, because he was an original member.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was Lloyd all those years. I mean, he wasn't afraid of the woods. He'd just keep going. But when he got hooked up to the wrong people and drank a little bit too much, not like when we first originally came up here and just started drinking all the time and trying to go out and hunt.
But he was.
I've heard some stories.
But he was. I mean, his sense of direction in the woods was unbelievable. He never had a compass in his pocket.
No.
Yeah. I remember one of the first times I came up, which I wasn't able to come up I came up on weekends, but it was a thing I had to earn. And what was I, 17 or 18?
I think you were younger than that.
Yeah, you were younger than that.
When I
14,
came up-
15.
Yeah.
When I came up for the week, though.
Oh, yeah. No,
Like
that was,
as part of camp.
yeah,
type.
right. Yeah, probably. Because you shot your first year when you were 21, so you'd been hunting up here for 2 or 3 years before that,
Scared a few before that, though, didn't I?
Scared the crap out of them.
Yep.
You just had to hear
Made
all the
us-
shooting.
Yeah, it made us walk a lot of miles looking for something that we couldn't find.
But why don't we start the stories off with that one? Because I think that's a pretty good one. So I think it was what, was that the first year I came up?
What, first year you came up for like the week?
Yeah. Wasn't that when I blew it on that big 8?
Which 8 was that?
Oh, the one you chased. The one
Shane Sandville. See, it's not just you. Now I'm getting it.
Yeah.
The one you chased into Canada.
No, that was a different one.
That was a different one.
No, this is the one. I think it was the first year I came up. We were hunting on the other side of the top.
Yeah, over the crossover road, what we call the crossover road.
Right. And I'd found that scrape line that was getting hammered.
Oh, no, I remember this very well. That's when you had borrowed Uncle Randy's semi-automatic 30-06 or 308? 308 that I didn't want you hunting with because I wanted you to make the first shot count, and 5 shots later, none of them counted.
I was right around the corner from him with my bow, and he ended up shooting a deer, going looking for the one that you were shooting at.
Yeah.
Then the following year, I sat in that same spot you did, Travis, and a big one came up. And what they were doing, those guys down in the camp, down on the stream there, from Connecticut, would chase them up over the hill right to us all the time. So,
Right.
And it was quite an
There
area.
was some buck in that area.
Yeah.
That- so that I think that was the first year I came up, first or
It
second
might have
year.
been.
Might have been for the whole week.
You know what? I think it was the second because I think the first year, because if you remember right, like the first year I came up, you guys were still kind of hunting behind the camp.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah.
like your deal, and then
Yeah.
I was the one that was like,
We need to move.
"Let's
Yeah.
go check out."
Wow, yeah, I got a
Some other
6-pointer up behind the camp, the old
That was
house.
the first year,
And then
yeah.
we said, well, heck with it, let's go over to
That's
the
when Stan threw
crossover.
it over the
Yeah.
blowdown. I was like,
No, that's the one. No, that's the one you dragged out down where, what's her name lives now. But
right, but
Rutland.
Stan was. I think
That
Stan was
was-
there.
that-
We got to the end of that road by like the pond there.
Yeah.
You know the pond I'm
Yeah,
talking
the
about?
pond. Yeah.
Well, that was out on. That was a whole different deer.
Different deer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't keep track of them.
Yep.
But no,
Yeah, we
that
shot
one.
so many of them.
We shot a few. So that one, the first year, whatever year it was that I came up, I was sitting on that scrape line. I was hunting with Uncle Randy's 308, and I'm 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there. I don't remember. And all I remember was I heard little red squirrel going 8, you know. There goes Tucker.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing the red squirrel losing his mind, and all of a sudden I see tines. It was like those plateaus down by the
Yeah,
ledges.
and I was right below you.
And I see antlers, and I mean buck fever. I was shaking, trying to, pick a hole. Don't shoot right there. Don't shoot. Don't. Finally, I just went boom, 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 boom. You guys
Yeah.
know the rest.
And then you tore your fingernails apart trying to get the clip out because you couldn't figure out how to get the clip out.
yeah, it wasn't the clip. It was trying to get the bullets. Remember, you had that case, that like leather case that the bullets went in.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to get the bullets out, and I literally, my fingernails were bleeding trying to pull the case out. And long story short, the deer ran down the bank and then walked right back up and standing broadside. I can't get the gun loaded.
Yeah.
Again,
There
buck
was this-
fever
There was like ledges right there.
to the
Yeah.
oomph degree. And then you come up, Dad, and there's snow on the ground, and you're like, well, he's got tracks. Let's follow him. And we tracked him. And he kind of started zigzagging and whatever. And you're like, sit here, and I'm going to do a big loop around. And
Yeah.
I was pretty bumming, obviously. And you took off. Next thing you know, I hear, ow. Mike,
Yeah.
yes. He
Yeah,
just
it
got him.
wasn't-
And
it
it was
wa-
a big buck.
Yeah.
It was a
The one
200-pounder.
you missed. The one I shot was a small buck, but
Yeah, well, in my mind, I'm going,
yeah.
yes, he just got him. Which, I mean, obviously I was excited you got a deer, but it was a spike.
Well,
Yeah.
that was a nice honey hole up there because when we first went over there, your father and I got out of the vehicle, and there was deer flying every which way, going up over that bank and everything. I mean, they were just everywhere, just sort of like where we were going down to the bridge that day hunting.
Oh.
He went down further, dropped us off, went down further, and there's a ton of deer that were flying around.
And and back in those days, like now when we hunt for 2-3 weeks at a time. But back then, we used to come up because deer season in New Hampshire always begins on a Wednesday. We'd come up Tuesday night and we'd hunt Wednesday through Saturday and had to go home on Sunday.
All right.
And so we weren't as fussy as we might be when we got older because We only had 4 or 5 days to shoot them. When we got home, we had like one more weekend left, and that was it. You know.
And in the first few years, it wasn't all hunting new. I mean, at the days you used to stay up to midnight drinking, playing cards, and try to go hunting the next day.
We would have 10 guys smoking cigarettes and playing poker.
Yeah.
You know, till the wee hours of the morning, but we usually 80% of the guys went hunting the next day.
Yeah.
You know.
But, you know, the different stories and everything is just like in the late 90s when Travis was coming up all the time. We went out that Saturday morning, and he was on the radio. There's a big one going toward this grassy area. And I'm looking around. I said, geez, I'm in a grassy area. I look up, and there's this big buck standing there, and I shot it. And what turned out to be, I think, Travis's first deer, he dressed out anyways.
It was, yeah.
It was his first deer. And that was a 205-pounder. And later that same day, I'm sitting at camp drinking beer, and Bob and Travis come in. Bob throws a liver right in my lap. And Travis went back out, got a 214-pound 7-pointer. And so he had a hell of a day that day, gutting out field dressing two 200-pounders in one day.
That was a day to remember. So we were hunting this area, and I had been up on the top of this mountain. When I say mountain, it's a ridge, really. And I'd been tracking, you know. I didn't know what I was doing back then, you know, following deer
Not
tracks.
like you do today.
Still learning every day, trust me.
Yeah.
But when I was up there, I was getting frustrated because it was doing like that loopy stuff. You know, I was just looking for a doe. You know, now I know what it was doing. Back then, I didn't have a clue. But I came down into the slash field where you had been sitting, Skip.
Yeah.
Now, Skip had this little spot that, I mean, it was a honey hole. I mean, he'd sit and we'd come back to camp. He'd be like, I saw 6-8 does today. And it's like, it's only a matter of time before a buck comes rolling through there. So I was like, geez, I'm kind of down by the, you know, this is pre-GPS. This is all, you know, compass, map.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we had maps. We just basically had compasses.
Yeah, we'd look at the maps when we go home.
And so I went down there and I'm sitting. I'm like, I know this is in that area where Skip sits. So I'm sitting. I wasn't sitting. I was munching on a Snickers on a stump.
Yep.
And I look up and here comes this buck. Well, deer. And I see it walking left to right. At that time, I had the 7mm mag, Ruger Model 77 bolt action. Still got it. Love that gun. And I mean, I see this deer and I see the body. And I mean, I had it right on his ribcage 2 or 3 times. And I'm sure some of it was buck fever, you know, but I never saw antlers. And the deer just walked out of my life, came from my left, exited my right, did like a big horseshoe around me. And I just got on the radio and I said, I just saw a big deer, and he's heading toward the grassy knoll because there was this knob, and just off to the side of this knob is just this weird anomaly, which I don't even recall seeing very often ever in the woods. But that's kind of a unique terrain feature. Would you agree? To this day, that round, it's like just a round circle of grass.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Skip, you told me, he goes, he kind of starts looking around. He's like, wait a minute. I'm sitting in that grass. I'm thinking I'm right where he's talking about. And you looked up, and it was.
Yeah, he walked out behind the tree, and I lifted. He moved, and I got lucky.
You shouldered the gun, right? You had the gun right firmly on your shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Or hip?
Yeah, and I just got lucky. There was no skill behind it, I can tell you that, because as soon as I moved, he moved. And it was just a shit shot. I mean, it did the job.
That place that we used to hunt behind camp, when we finally got radios, Skip is a sitter, and he would go up and sit on that ridge, and all of us would work our way in and about, and you were like the
communication tower.
Communication tower. Like, Travis seen anything? Call Skip. So everybody had to call Skip, and Skip would say, yeah, I just see Travis. He just told me this, and he told me this guy that, and all right.
Well, and you always kind of knew if you needed to check in, you'd swing down, you know.
You'd swing down until you
so
could
you
get Skip.
and be like, hey, have you heard from anybody? Yeah, I talked to your dad earlier. He went, you know, he had to go take another poop.
Yeah. Might be true.
Well, you just, yeah, but he didn't do it on the trails up there like some other people did.
Yeah.
Then let your friends walk in it.
All right. We got to go here just because it just came up, so I got to say it. So do you remember the year I had killed, I think, a buck in Maine and New Hampshire? This isn't that long ago. Greg was up. You guys were hunting near, I think, number 3, we call
Yeah.
it. Blank Road, number 3, right?
Yeah.
And I had shot my buck, so I slept in that morning, and I just take a ride to go.
I know what you're gonna say.
So I ride out, I see Skip's truck, so I grab the radio, and I'm like, Skippy, Skip, copy, nothing. And then I go a little bit further, there's my dad's truck. Dad, redneck. We all have handles, redneck,
Yeah. Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Flatlander.
Flatlander, Stu. Stu's coming into the picture. Stu came in late.
Buckmaster.
but he-
Buckmaster.
He'll be coming into some of these stories. So, and then
Tree frog.
I got the title Buckmaster because I had the biggest buck in camp. Whoever shoots a bigger buck than me, I'm at 2 1/4 weight wise,
Yeah.
gets to
Yeah,
rename
yeah.
me, and
You
they can name me.
You get to take his name.
Yeah, you can take my name and then name me whatever you want. But anyway, so
Well, I could name you a lot of things, but no.
I drive up. There's a spur road, and I drive up the top of spur road. I see Greg's truck. I'm calling for Greg,
Yeah.
and finally I'm like, what? I don't know where the hell they are. I come rolling back down. All of a sudden, Greg, Travis, is that you? I just saw your truck go by. And I'm like, hey, yeah, Greg, I've been calling you guys. Been calling the whole way up through here. Nobody. Oh, well, I was taking a poop. Greg says. He goes, I just ran into Heath Bunnell. He's up here hunting with me, and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, all right. So we drive down to the bottom of the ridge, and I take a right, and I'm still calling. All of a sudden, Big Daddy sounds like he's right next to me on the radio, which if anybody's ever used radios, you know that when they sound close, they're usually close because it's not all static. And I'm like, oh, Skip, I just drove by. I was trying to get you on the radio. I couldn't hear it. Yeah, I was taking a poop. And I'm like, oh, that's weird because Greg was also poop. All of a sudden, that's redneck. I'm up on the ridge. Nothing going on up here. I'm like, oh, well, where were you? Oh, I was just taking a poop.
True story.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Is this like a menstrual cycle? All of you 3 poop at the same time?
Yeah, but the outcome was good. I got a 4-pointer that same afternoon right after that, and that made us 6 for 6 on hunting camp.
And we ended up going for 7 for 7 that year. That was the year we went 7 for 7.
Oh, 6 for 6.
Was it 6 for 6?
Yeah.
Are we not counting the one guy?
No, Drew.
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, it was
all-
6 for 6 because there was a couple in Maine.
Yep.
You got that one
Yeah.
in Maine. And
Yep. Yeah,
stuff,
that was
but-
quite the year. We had killed six guys in camp, killed 6 bucks.
Yeah.
But
And I
it-
killed 2.
You know, the 40 years and everything, we've had a lot of different guys in camp and everything. And, you know, for the most part, you know, it's been really good and everything. And like Travis was saying, he was bringing up Stu and everything. And he's a latecomer, but he's been good. He's been faithful coming up with us and everything and enjoying camp and stuff. And
Well, and
I've enjoyed coming up.
again, the reason I wanted to have this is like when
And he's a Flatlander. We let him in.
friggin'. At least he's not a red and white plate. You're a, what, blue and white?
Yeah.
Yeah. And them damn green plates.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all over.
Them green mountain boys. But, you know, is this camaraderie that we have because there's, you know, so many stories, so many memories. And for me, what makes hunting the culmination of all of it is when you come back to camp, and I don't believe it was a liver. I'm pretty sure it was a heart.
A heart.
oh, no, it was a liver because I always complained that you guys don't bring the liver back for me.
Okay, so maybe that
yeah, it
year
was.
you brought the liver.
Yeah, because it kept falling out when we were dragging it out.
So back to that story. So I had seen that buck, and he disappears, and I'm like, oh my God, that was a big deer. So I'm like, I'm gonna go down and look at his track, and I get down to his track, and it's a 4-finger, big old track, and I'm like,
Humdinga.
yeah, I'm like, what the? I can't believe I just let this deer walk by me, and then I hear snap, and I'm like, oh, here comes another one, and it's a guy that was tracking it, and he looks at me like bewildered, like I'm standing in the buck's track, and he's like, why didn't you shoot it? And I'm like, I didn't see antlers. And he's like, it's like a big 8 or something. He goes, I've been chasing him. I shot at him earlier, and we had a quick exchange. And, you know, I was obviously fascinated with the whole tracking thing. And as we're talking, boom, I hear the shot. And he looks at me. He grabs a fistful of snow. This guy had been tracking it all morning and takes a bite of the snow and goes, which way's the road?
Yeah, he was done.
And I'm like, oh, my God. You know, fast forward to what I do now, I would have been, you know, bummed. But he was a good sport about it. He's like, hey, it happens. So anyway, I go over, and there's Skip with this great big buck, and I'm like, oh, my God. I mean, I was happy for Skip, but I'm like, you idiot, you know. This big
Yeah,
buck
and no, and you were done. You didn't want to hunt. It was also our last day to hunt.
It
Yeah,
was-
right.
It was the day we were leaving on the next day.
We went to the weigh-in station with Skip.
Yep.
You know, because we were all excited to see how much it weighed and stuff. And then you said you were down in the dumps. And
I
said,
gutted the deer and dragged it out, sweated up, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it's 1 o'clock. Like,
Yeah, and I
game
said-
over.
I said, well, come on, Trav. We got to go back hunting.
Never give up.
Yeah, never give up. And we went back hunting, and you shot the 214, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
214.
Why don't you tell your side of that story?
I mean, how I jumped it to you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or not missed it, right?
And missed it. Yeah.
Oh, the truth has to come out in camp.
So we said, let's go attack this ridge, and I send Travis in one direction, and I go in the other. We come up over the knoll, and we'd had snow that was leaving very quickly because it was getting warm, and it was slipperier than heck going down the ridge. And as I was going down the ridge, I slipped and fell and hit my butt, landed on my butt. Just as I did, this big buck jumps up in front of me that was laying 30, 40 yards down the bank from me and starts bailing out right in front of me. And as I'm sliding down the bank, I shoot. And Travis goes, did you shoot? I went, yes, just look. Look for a deer because he's coming your way.
I think there was an explicitive.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Just in luck.
Yeah, just effing look. Yeah. and and Travis, up to that point, because this was his first deer, and up to that point, he had, let's say, wounded a few that we had tracked, and he'd said, I shot him, he went down, but he got back up, and I said, keep throwing lead at him until he doesn't get back up. And so that's what he did with this buck. I heard bang, and then bang, 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 and I don't know how many times he shot.
I think I shot
Maybe-
4 times.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
going like, God, now that sounds like misses. And so I get over there. He's all excited. He shot this massive buck. And he's looking at me. He goes, we got him. And I went, what do you mean we got him? I didn't get him. I shot at him. I missed him. He goes, I don't believe you. You don't shoot and miss. And so he backtracked that buck all the way back to where I jumped it to make sure there was no blood on the ground because he wanted to make sure he'd shot that damn deer, you know.
Yeah, I know him. He'd be like, oh, no, I missed. Then, go back there and see blood specks. But, yeah, I'll never forget because I was on the top of the ridge. And we went to the very top of this ridge. And he's like, all right, we got to the top. And he's like, I'm going to swing around to the left, and you swing around to the right, and we'll work our way down to the bottom of this next ridge, and we'll meet up there. And we knew this area pretty good. And, I mean, as a crow flies, it's only a mile from where Skip killed his buck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was only the next ridge, really.
Right, yeah.
And so
close.
I start walking. I mean, we didn't separate for 15 minutes, and boom, and I'm going, no, I guess it's just not my day. And he just goes, big buck, effing look. And so I'm like, well, I can't look at anything right here. All I can see is fur. So I bust out of the fir trees, looking down that bank, and I just see bone. And this is like a 130-inch 7-pointer. It's a big buck.
Yeah.
I mean, big, wide, 20-inch
Again,
spread.
another 7-pointer on those ridges.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
always
We've
7-pointer.
killed a bunch of 7-pointers.
No
up
brow
there.
tines. Yeah.
I think I've shot like 10 7-pointers at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he comes running straight to me. And, I mean, he got within about 30 yards of me and just stopped, started looking. I put on his neck and boom. And then, like he said, it went down immediately and started to try and get back up. And I just kept shooting him. I think I hit him, gave him a haircut, hit him again. And then it was, I mean, cloud 9.
Yeah.
My first buck, official first buck, not counting the deer that I'd shot.
Some of the guys were at the restaurant playing pool.
Yep.
And we went walking in with our hunting gear and said, you guys got to come back to camp. And they go, what? Just shot another deer. And they went, no way. It was Lloyd and Mike and
Yeah,
couple
well,
other guys.
Mike and Jerry were there, and I think Lloyd had Danny with him
yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
because those guys were back, or at least Mike was back, helping me drink my beer,
Yeah.
celebrate with me.
Yeah. that was a pretty fun day.
And then we got back to camp and you
Two
walked in.
200-pounders in camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you walked in and slapped the liver on the table, and Skip's like, come on.
Oh, he threw it right in my lap.
And Skip's like, Travis, you little beep. You couldn't let me have the 200-pound title for at least a couple days? You
Well,
had
it
to shoot
didn't
one the same day?
matter for the couple of days, but at least I got the first one.
Yeah, that's right. Can't take that away.
I mean, I did have to scare him off. I was like, go see Skip. Yeah, that was a good one. So
no, did you ever go to hunting camp when my father was at hunting camp?
I went, yes. like I think maybe the first or second year, but yeah, he was like he would cook and hang out. I don't
Yeah,
think he
yeah,
even
'cause
brought a gun with him, but
No,
Yeah, he did. He went out
did.
a couple of times.
He'd go
Well,
out
a few times.
He'd go out and beat himself up for an hour in the morning, and he was like the camp cook, and he used to make the best potato. What do you call them? Fried potatoes? I mean, mashed potatoes fried. I don't know. But
Yeah,
Oh,
those are kind of the memories you have from hunting camp too.
Yeah.
Is the food you had.
yeah.
Or the people that didn't like our food
Yeah, yeah,
we invited to camp.
yeah. Those are Travis's friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So how did you guys end up coming up here? Like, did you just?
we wanted to hunt the big woods. I mean, we've hunted for a few years down there because, quite a few years down in our area. And we decided Chico had some land up here. And
Well,
we decided
that's really what got us up here.
Yeah,
Was
Chico had
bought,
some
He
land.
bought that land. We came up here and said, "Oh, we want to hunt up here."
Yeah. And the first time we stayed at a camp up here didn't go too well. We had a guy get a deer,
lost?
He decided he was going to get lost. Then we had about 12
Till
10
2 o'clock
guys,
in the morning.
Yeah, 10 guys in camp and
In a
two-
four-bedroom house.
in
or
a
something.
4-bedroom house. The sewer backed up.
Yeah.
We were out until 2 o'clock in the morning trying to find him in the woods, and
Yeah.
that was pretty much the end of that.
And that was his first day hunting.
Yeah.
His first day hunting. And another funny part of that story was, so like 4 or 5 of us go up in the woods looking for him in the dark. The game warden came, gave us some flashlights, batteries and stuff. So we're not going in the woods. He'll come out in the morning. We went, well, we got to go find our buddy.
Yeah.
So we get way up in the woods and, we're yelling at him, like, put your gun down, because he'd been shooting, shots, like you should, to try to find him. And I said, put your gun down and make sure it's on safety. Well, he put the gun down. I walked over and picked the gun up, which was a gun of mine that I had let him borrow. And it wasn't on safety. And anyway, so one of the things on the ride home and stuff, I said, so what'd you think about when you were out there in the woods all the time? He goes, I just thought about my wife and all that and stuff. 6 months later, he divorced his wife. So I don't know what he was thinking while he was out in the middle of the woods till 2 o'clock in the morning.
He didn't say what he was thinking about with his wife. He just,
Yeah, he must have thought about something. But, so, I mean, true story.
So it was Chico that got you guys. Now Chico's a family friend of both of yours.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
buddies.
He worked with him.
I worked with him and played softball with him.
I bowled with him.
And Chico, of all people, was not an outdoorsman, not a hunter, not a fisherman. But he came up north on a whim, bought a piece of land, and we stayed at that camp, and then we went over and parked and hunted off his land, and that's what got us.
Yeah.
And actually, it turned out like we had no idea where to go, and it happened to be a very good spot.
Oh, yeah.
And is that behind the camp, behind the old farmhouse?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where his land was?
Yeah.
And another story about Chico and hunting camp. So he didn't have a gun. He wasn't a hunter. The only other spare gun I had, besides the one I'd given the guy that ended up getting lost, was an old beater 12-gauge shotgun. And Chico had gone out and practiced with it the weekend before, not used to shooting a gun, shooting slugs at a target, and beat the crap out of his shoulder. He was purple from his shoulder down to his elbow. So we come up here and we go camping. He's showing me his arm. He goes, oh, my God, I hate shooting that gun. And so we get up that morning. We're going hunting, and I had given him a belt buckle full of 12-gauge shotgun shells and stuff. And I'm walking out the door, and there's the 12-gauge. All his bullets are sitting on the table. So I grabbed him. I went like, he doesn't even know he doesn't have his bullets.
He probably didn't want them.
He didn't.
He really didn't.
He didn't. We get to the landing, and he's walking off. I said, Chico, you all set? You got your bullets and everything? Yep. He was heading in the woods. I said, you lying sack of shit? Yeah, I got your bullets are right here. And he goes, I didn't even want to take them. So that's kind of hunter he was. So we had a mixture of guys that were like that. Guys like me and Skip that were, ready to go all day. And then guys like that couldn't wait to get back to camp and drink beer, which were great guys, you know. not faulting them, but that was their fun.
Yep.
And I always told the guys, it's your vacation. Do what you want, you know?
And again, you guys came up for just a week at that
5 days.
Yeah.
Not even a week.
Not
Yeah,
even.
not
Tuesday,
even a week
Tuesday
at
night, went
first.
home on Sunday, you know? Because of our jobs, you know, that was back in the day. We worked in factories. You had 2 weeks off a year. And,
Yeah, I just started working for the city.
And one of them would be a summer vacation with your family, and the other one we went deer hunting.
Yeah.
No.
But there was a different crew of guys over the years and stuff until we finally settled in and knew what we were doing a little bit better and expanded our hunting areas that cover a lot of ground now. Well, I won't, but these guys will. And Travis, you know, in his tracking and everything, we'd have to go halfway around the country to go find him where he'd ever come out.
Yeah, we had to pick them up.
Usually
in
with a deer, too.
Yeah, we used to have to go ride the roads and try to find them.
It used to work out good for me, though, because I knew I could just go on a track, and wherever I ended up, most of the time,
Yeah, there
You
was
were
one
gonna
time.
find me.
There was one time it didn't, though.
there was one time that I had to go for a very, very long walk.
And remember that one time? That's
Yeah.
when I shot the 9-pointer
big
early
nine.
in the morning.
Yeah.
That's a giant. You should get that deer scored. I bet you that's close to 140-inch buck.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But so the story on that one is there was good snow, and I'd started to track at this point a little bit, and I was in my early 20s, and I got on this big buck track. Remember the valley? I'd
Yeah.
driven out that valley road, which you drive by there now, you wouldn't even know there was ever a road there.
Yeah, no
right,
kidding.
right.
And I mean, what I would drive out was a little bit sketchy. I mean, I think most people probably wouldn't have driven out it then, but I drove out that road just because it saves me a half mile of hiking. And there was snow on the ground. All the trees were caved in. And I get up there and I get out of the truck and I start walking up, and it's snowing pretty hard. And I find the snow didn't track. Now, it was one of those days where the snow was leaving pretty good.
Yeah.
It was warm. And to kind of fast forward, I tracked this buck chasing a doe all day. Finally caught up to him in the pecker poles, the real small little whippy stuff.
Whippets.
And I was hunting with my peep gun, and I look up and I see a deer quartering away from me left to right, and his back leg is up. I see tarsal gland stains. I know it's a buck. And I'm just standing there looking at him. I'm like, but I got a peep, so I can't see his head.
Yep.
And then the doe was off to my left. I'd never even seen her. She blew. He took off, and I saw bone. Boom! Shot once, gave him a haircut, and chased him all the way down, crossed the brook into that other county,
Yeah.
if you will. So I'm like, oh, man. So I walk like a mile to the left. There's a gate. You can't go any further. I mean, I could have, but I didn't walk around the gate. And then I walk a mile back the other way, and then I'm like, now it's like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I don't want to go back up over the mountain to get back to my truck. It's 3 miles. So I was like, you know what? I'll just keep poking out here. You guys are at about mile marker 6, and I'm at mile marker 2. I'm like, it's 4 miles. Whoop-de-doo.
Yep.
So off I go. I walk about a mile. Here comes this old timer. Need a ride? Yeah, I'd love one. Well, hop on the wood that's in my back. He had these big chunks of logs. I guess I wasn't worthy to sit in the in the bed of the truck. So, I mean, in the cab. So anyway, I jump on the wood, and he drives me down this road, and then he gets to the crossover and says, "No, I'm going that way. So this is as far as I'm taking you." Okay, so I keep walking, and I'm calling on the radio the whole time. I get just about to where you guys were, and that's when it dawned on me:
They're not there.
they are not there anymore.
No, we weren't.
So I've
I
been
shot that deer at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
And it's like 5 at this point. It's
Yep.
been dark for an hour. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going back the other way. So I walk all the way the other way. I get all the way to the top of Crossover Road, and here you guys come.
Yeah, because we immediately came back with a deer.
Yeah.
We happened to be not too far, within radio distance, and everybody gathered up and said, well, I'm coming out. I want to see the deer, And we all go to weigh-in, and then, of course, we went to the store, and we bought beer, and we went back to camp, because that was on the river, right?
River.
Yeah. That's where we were staying then, I think. Yeah, I know it was.
We were.
Yeah. Which wasn't that far from the road to go out there, but
Yep.
we we all get back there, and now it's dark. And being the, dad, the doting dad, all of a sudden I'm going like, it's 6 o'clock. Where the hell is Travis? Because now we've forgotten about him all day.
And you hadn't had any beers at this point.
No. We might have run out of beer, but and all of a sudden we go, we got to go find Travis. So we all pile. I said, shit, that's right. He doesn't know I got a deer. So we all found somebody that could drive,
Yeah.
and we drove in. Who was that? You?
No.
It was your ex-brother and son-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And your
Well,
Nissan, your green Nissan.
yeah. And so
Because
we,
I'll never forget it.
yeah, we.
When
Oh,
you guys come, I was like, thank God.
yeah. And he's out walking the roads in the dark. He still isn't back to his truck. Yeah.
Oh, that day haunts me because I was really close to killing that buck. And
Yeah.
imagine, you came
Oh,
out
yeah.
there and I'd have done it to you again because it was a big boy.
Yeah.
Skippy, I'd have done it to him.
Yeah, because that deer was 9 points, 190 something. I can't.
I think
It
he was
was 93, 96
193.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a giant buck. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful buck. Well, tell us the story of that one. How'd you get him?
It was just a still hunt and working my way up the ridge to where I like to hunt and stuff. And I remember looking over to the left, and I saw movement. And I saw a deer. I didn't. My first instinct, because it kind of had a really thick, not webbed rack, but very brown. If you remember, the tines were very chocolate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got to
they
get that.
were.
We got to see if we can have somebody stain that rack
Yeah.
because that was
And
what
he
made
turned
that
his
so
head, and I
special.
thought it was a small moose or something at first. And I didn't even pick my gun up.
That rack
And then
was
all of a
dark.
sudden, I realized it was a deer, and I shot twice. I think I hit him the first shot, and then he piled up in a tree, and my ex-son-in-law.
Boy,
was-
we got
was near-
X's.
Yeah, but
AH.
yeah, but he didn't want because we'd only been hunting for like an hour and a half, and we were all pumped up because it was early in our, 5 or 6 days we were here, and he goes, he didn't want to get sweated up, so here I am, the old guy. He carried my gun. I dragged a deer.
Yeah, but that was typical. I mean,
Yeah, but
you younger guys
Not
always
if I
had
was
it.
around, it wasn't.
yeah.
I actually enjoy dragging bucks out of the woods. It's
But-
like the culmination again.
But at the same time, where I shot that deer to the truck was a lot of downhill, so it wasn't that
Yeah.
bad. But
Yeah.
But like you say, it was and it was wet, slippery snow because it was melting.
Mm-hmm.
But
That reminds me
Yeah,
of
The wetness it was good. I like the one we were going back to camp and we were on the radio with him and he was on the other side of the stream. And
Oh, yeah,
he had
yeah.
to cross the water. He gets up to the bank. Alan and I were in my vehicle and you were behind us. He says, "Let me in." I said, "Bullshit. You go ride with your father."
yeah, I'm standing there. I've been tracking this buck all day. He takes me way on the other side of this river that's like up over your knees in most spots. And this is, again, no GPS days. And I'm just going like, I'm pretty sure I'm way down, in behind where I was. And I'm like, I'm just going to cut down. I'll just cross the river and I'll end up on that other road on the other side. I'll just screw it. It's getting late in the day. I'm not walking 3 miles back to the bridge. And so I get down to the edge of the river, and I saw you guys. Remember? I'm like calling you on the radio. I'm like, hey, I can see you. Stop. And I get about halfway across the river. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. I'm not even going to get wet. And one more step. Boop, right up over my boots. And I crawl up on the steep bank. I had to, snap branches. I'm soaked. I'm wet. I've been tracking a buck all day. These guys come pulling up. Alan's mad.
yeah,
We should have had him here. Damn it.
yeah.
Alan Tewksbury, and I'm like, Alan. He's like, you stupid idiot, blah, blah. We've been looking all over for you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, let me in. My feet are frozen. My boots are full of water. He goes, Skip, and them both yell at me, freaking jump in with your dad. So off they squeal their tires on dirt road to take off. And my dad's just shaking his head. He's like, what the hell? I'm like, well, I was on a track. It wasn't like I was just.
Well, speaking of not letting somebody in the truck,
That was paying you guys back, you and your father back, for not letting me in the truck
That's what I was
when I
gonna
fell
say.
in the mud.
remember when he fell in the mud?
forgot about that.
The first day? It smelled like sewer.
Oh,
And we had
Fell in the mud. He was stuck in the mud up to
we
his
had
nipples.
we had your former employers. We had borrowed. He had let us use his pickup truck to
Yep.
come up here hunting.
Yeah.
He was nice enough to let us do
Yeah.
that. And Skip comes out, and he is
Black.
black. I mean, that black, smelly, stinky mud. And he goes, my truck's down there. I went, yeah, well, keep walking because you ain't getting in this one.
Didn't you almost get stuck in the mud like you were?
I was.
Oh, gotta love it.
That fence shouldn't have been in the way.
That's awesome. So what year was that?
Oh,
That was,
they go by so fast, and so many of them I can't remember.
I know. Well, there's only 40 of them.
Only.
Well, and another kind of quick story, too, about the guy that should have been here, but it's Mike's fault, Greg.
Yep.
I mean, how we met Greg. He was a friend
Peter Weeks.
of Peter Weeks, a.k.a. Smooch.
Sorry, I didn't say it. Pete.
He'll love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Oh, and that's another good story about a handle.
Yeah.
So Peter Weeks' handle given to him by Trav was Smooch. But Peter didn't like the handle Smooch on the radio, so one day he comes up and he goes, I've decided, he's a big-time bass fisherman, that my name is going to be Skeeter, the name of his
Skeet,
boat.
yeah.
Yeah, Skeeter,
Whatever it was. Yeah, Skeeter.
the name of his boat. And I kept calling him all day, Skeeter, Skeeter. Finally I went, Smooch, you son of a bitch. I can't call you Skeeter. You're just a friggin' Smooch. And, but he was a friend of this Greg guy. And all of a sudden Greg shows up to a camp. He goes, I got a buddy that's coming. He wants to stop in and say hi. So he said hi and drank a lot of alcohol with us. Whiskey, a lot of whiskey. And
Scotch. Scotch
and
whiskey.
decided, I can't go home. So he spent the night on the couch, and the rest is history. He's been hunting with us for
Ever since.
for I don't know how many years.
I
it's
don't
been.
even know. I mean, Greg's
15,
like family
20.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been to every hunting camp.
We've had
Yeah.
some. That's why I wish he was here, because we've had some adventures, man. I'm smiling right now thinking about him. Greg's the one that's almost as dumb as I am. That's a compliment, I think.
Yeah.
It is.
Because like I don't have a shut-off valve. Like
Oh no, you don't.
if I get on a buck track,
No,
if
no,
I
you
get my
don't.
head that I'm going to go up on that mountain, it's going to happen. And Greg's the same exact way. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it. He's had more wild stories. I mean, you remember the year when we got up and it blew so bad all night. Like we were like, I don't even know if we can get out the roads. And Greg cut something like 26 trees to go hunting that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he had to cut like 10. He's like, I almost ran out of, I think he borrowed gas from somebody because he ran out of gas in his chainsaw.
Yeah.
So many freaking trees he cut. Most people say, I'm going to take today off.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, Greg and I
Okay.
did that one time. We got up. It was pouring. I think you'd already got a deer, and there was like 4 of us in camp, Smooch and somebody else, and we get up, and we knew it was going to be a torrential downpour. But Greg and I got up, put our rain gear on. I said, I'm going out. I'm going as long and hard. You know, Greg said the same thing. We're going as long and hard as we can until we get soaked, and we're coming home. And I think by 1 or 2, even with my Sitka gear, I was miserable. And I'm calling Greg, and Greg's always the guy going like, I'm not going to be able to do this much longer. I'm freezing. But he's the one that makes me stay till 5:30 at night, and I'm freezing my ass off standing by his truck because it's locked. You know?
Well, the 8-pointer that I shot the year Adelina was born, Greg and I had driven the roads. We found some good snow, and we went out into this piece, and I was already frustrated because we went on this left-hand side. You know, first of all, Kirsten's about to have a baby, and it's just like everything had tension. It was the last day of the season. The snow where I wanted to hunt was shit. There was, crusty snow. I was sick of hunting on crusty snow. Finally, we got into good snow, but I couldn't find a friggin' deer track. Finally, I just got frustrated. I'm like, Greg's like, there's a bunch of deer here, Trav. I can hear him now.
Well, that's Greg.
Bunch of
Yeah.
deer here,
Yeah.
Trav. Let's go have fun. You're going to have a baby tomorrow anyway. Like, just stay close to me. Let's just go flop around.
Yeah, flop.
We'll go flop around out there. Come on. All right, Greg. So we get down there, and of course, we went from crusty, 2 inches of snow, and when I say crusty, I mean shiny crusty. Like, ting, cling, ling, cling, 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 ting, ting, cling, cling, ting. That's how bad it was. So we get out there, and now instead of that, it's 18 inches up over your knee in places. And, of course, I walk right into the biggest shithole swamp mankind's ever seen. I crawled in places to get out of that shithole.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know
I hunted
exactly what
there
I'm
last
talking
year.
about.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, I skirt the edge of it. I pop out in this clear cut. It's 9 degrees and blowing 30. And my left ear was so cold. I'm like walking up, and I see Greg up above me, and he's calling me on the radio. I can't even hear him. The wind's blowing so much. And I get up to him, cupping my left ear, and I'm like, can we just get over this edge? Because my ear's about to fall off. And he's trying to tell me something. We get over there, and he's like, do you see all those tracks? I said, no, I was marching the hell out of here because I'm going to my truck. I'm done. I had it. I'm beep. I'm so sick of tired of this. And he's like, drive, no. I was just over there. There's deer tracks everywhere. It's nice. And once you get down in there, it's quiet, and let's and he's all excited. I'm like, all right, well, now I'm excited. Let's go hunting. And we get down there, and I cut this buck's track, and it was a big buck, real big buck track. And I get down there, and I realized, just from aging the track a little bit, falling enough that it wasn't smoking fresh. And then I bump into the other buck track, and I'll never forget on the radio, Greg goes, Travis, don't you go take off on that buck. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's right here. I said, I think I just jumped him out of his bed. Yeah, but your wife's, you can't be getting too far away from me. Just poke on him if you're going to go on him. Just go slow. Well, about an hour later, he calls me on the radio. He's like, you're 1.2 miles from me. What did I say? And I'm killing the buck, and we were like 2.75 miles as the crow flies, uphill drag the whole way. And he's a 181-pound 8-pointer laying there dead. And he's just like, Travis, how are we going to get this buck out of here?
Yeah, that was snowing and stuff too.
Right? Oh, it was 18. And he basically walked in front of me the whole drag and just packed down a trail.
Yeah.
So that's one of the many Greg stories.
Gregisms.
Yeah, we all do that. We, some of us carry rifles and fall down and
Lose
they
their
let
knife.
the other one lose their knives and
Yeah.
go up the next year and happen to find it. I don't know how the hell he ever did it, but he did.
Yeah, that was.
But
That's still crazy. Ray was just talking about that when I saw him the other day.
I know, and I've had that. It's not even that great of a knife, but it's a knife I've had for like 35 years at least. And I go like, there's only one place I could have lost it. And then we drove up there last year to try to find it, and there was a big bull pine that had fallen across the road. And they're going, well, I guess you're not going to get that knife. And I went, yeah, I'm going to walk up. I'm going to climb over that son of a bitch and go up there. And
sure enough, you found it.
yeah, right about, I walked like 3 circles. I said, it's got to be like right in here. And I was just about ready to give up. I went, who laid that knife there?
I know another story that's coming to mind. Do you remember? We're talking about dragon bucks.
Yeah.
So we used to have, again, the radios that we had back in the day. Not that the ones we have now are much better, really, because there's so many ridges up here. But remember, we had our own. We had a signal shot amongst all of us. Mm-hmm. And what it used to be, I think, was 3 boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then that morning, I was like, Dad, if you shoot one, I want to know specifically it's you. And so let's do 3 and then follow up with a quick one. So boom, 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 pause, boom.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our plan.
Yeah.
So we're hunting. We hear some
Yeah,
shots.
no radios. This is with no radios, no compasses even where we were hunting with then.
Well, I'm sure we had a compass.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I had my Army one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we go out, and I hear the 3 signal shots. And I'm like, geez, I think somebody got one. Cool. I keep hunting. Because I was a long ways, away from everybody else. And then I hear boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, oh, sweet, it's my dad. So off I go. And I run out of the woods, and I get to my truck, and Lloyd's leaning against it.
Yeah.
You guys know this story now? You know where I'm going with this
Yeah.
Yeah.
one? And he's excited, and I'm like, oh, did you get one? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, my dad got one too. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I just heard him shoot a signal shot. He's like, no, I shot that signal shot. I'm like, no. My dad and I have a specific one. No, I heard you tell your dad that, and I wanted you to come. And I'm like, well, son of a bitch. But anyway, so I'm like, well, where's your deer? He's like, I need help dragging it out. So anyway, we go up there, and it was then, it was that logging road that had blowdown after blowdown after blowdown. So I ended up picking the deer up, putting it on my shoulders, and carrying it out. Meanwhile, Lord's cranking on Bud Heavies.
Yeah.
And finally, we got about 100 yards from the road, and I said, you can drag it the rest of your way yourself, because I was annoyed
Yeah.
that he, made me stop my hunt to help him drag his deer. It wasn't even that far in the woods.
No. Yeah.
Then he was a dipshit the rest of the time, weighing it in and everything.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
yes.
he was terrible. He was rude to the guy weighing it in.
He was on our podcast, too, that guy that we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he did an episode. Yep. Hope to get him on again.
But there's a lot of different stories. I mean, you just can't remember them all. I mean, falling, rolling down the snowbanks, and people laughing at you in the woods, when you do it.
When you're taking a poop?
No, I wasn't taking a poop at that time. I just happened to trip and fall down over the bank.
Oh, that's right.
Somebody saw me.
Yeah.
Well,
But I saved my rifle.
So the story on that one was I was sneaking up to Skip. I see him down at the bottom of the bank. So I'm doing a, stalk on Skip. I get about 25 yards from him. He gets up, where he was sitting. He gets up. He doesn't have a clue I'm behind him. Takes 3 steps. I hear shit. Watch his gun go flying that way, and there goes Skip. Ba-boom, ba-boom. And I start busting off laughing. He's like, "You shithead, how long you been there?"
well, and talk about, drags and stuff. There was one hunting party of ours that was hunting, with us, and you and him had to go home on a Friday night. We had a big snowstorm coming, and that afternoon he gave a deer a haircut. Late afternoon, 4 o'clock. Got a little bit of blood, and we tracked it and tracked it and tracked it. Couldn't find it, and you and he had to go home that night or the first thing.
And I think that was the buck that I had been tracking that morning. Because remember, I was tracking a buck down low, and he was a few clicks above me on the ridge.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't far from me, and I heard boom, and I go running up there, and it's him.
Yeah.
And we double teamed it, tracking it.
Yeah, you guys
had a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
Until basically
Till
dark.
dark.
We left him towards the top
and
of the
you
mountain,
guys-
and then
you
I
gu-
had to go to work.
Yeah, and you guys stuck a glove.
That was a hard ride home. I did not want to leave.
Yeah, and you guys stuck
That's
a
right.
glove in a tree for us to go find in the morning, and we got up early because we had this massive snowstorm coming in.
And it's just you and Big Daddy now.
Yeah,
At
now
camp.
we're the
Yeah.
only 2 left at camp. I mean, I think we got 18, 20 inches in that snowstorm.
Oh, yeah,
It
we
was
did.
a blizzard.
Like-
So we're hunting, and the deer kept wanting to go up to the very top of this ridge, and I'm on the radio to Skip, going like, "Well, I'm going up one more layer. I'm going up one more, plateau." And Skip said, "Well, I'm going to just keep, paralleling you, because don't know when this deer might decide he's going to come back down." But you could tell he wasn't hurt bad because he was just feeding and doing everything normal. So long story short, I ended up shooting the deer, and it was 8-pointer, 196 pounds or something. And so the good buddy that I am, it was such a dramatic scene where the deer was, and this was one of the bigger bucks I'd shot in a long time. And I said to Skip, "You got to get your ass up here. You got to see this." So remember, I made you come all the way up the top of this
Well, and
friggin'
that's
So
like
you
ridge.
can see where he was feeding and everything, and
Yeah,
then he bedded down.
Right, because
or-
the buck had bedded.
several times. Yeah.
It just kept bedding and rebedding and was feeding up on this knob. And I've been up there, and it's gorgeous. It's
Yeah, and there's
that
ferns and stuff.
boreal
Yeah.
forest.
Wow.
It's got all those green ferns, and it's thick. It's right on a top.
We almost didn't find deer tracks because there was so many rabbit
There were
tracks.
so many rabbit tracks, we were losing deer tracks because they would pad them
I mean,
right out.
it was loaded.
So I finally shoot the, so he comes up and, we celebrate and we got the deer and I said, well,
Coyotes started hollering.
coyotes were yapping at us and rabbit tracks everywhere. And Skip goes, "Well, I'll carry your gun."
Because I had a real bad knee.
Yeah, he
I
had the
was-
bad knee. It was just before you got it surgery.
Replaced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
replaced. So, and it was a lot of downhill drag, so it was good, and it was a lot of nice snow because it was a blizzard.
It was coming.
But
That must be
just
such
show
an
you what
awesome
kind of
memory.
a hunting buddy he is. We're walking down through this. we get down to this plateau, and all of a sudden I see Skip get tangled up in some junipers or something, and he's doing a pirouette, and I see a gun go flying. I went like, my friggin' gun, right? It wasn't my gun, It was his gun. He threw his gun, and he cradled mine to his chest and
I
fell
did,
into
too.
a snowbank. And I went, oh, sweet.
I've seen him do that before, but it was a beer.
Yeah, but he saved the beer.
Of course. But by the time we got back to the truck, we had 7 to 10 inches of snow, and it was just coming down wicked.
Yeah, and then we were stuck in the dooryard trying to load the deer up in the morning.
Yeah, I almost.
Skip fell out of the truck and got impaled on the shovel he was trying to shovel the
That-
truck out with.
That must be a pretty cool memory for you guys, because I remember calling you.
And we're the only two there. Oh, and just, well, that thought, it was pretty cool because we're the only two left at hunting camp, from 8 or 10 guys. And now we're going to celebrate, and our buddy, we have another friend that lives up this way, Beetle,
Yeah.
and he shows up, and I think the three of us got pretty drunk.
Yep, we did.
Seems to be a theme. I love it.
We weren't going anywhere with all that snow, so hell with it.
Well,
Yeah, just heading home.
when I'm
Next
not
day.
at camp, I used to annoy not you guys, but some of the other people because, I'm at work, and I would call 2, 3, 4. I was just praying somebody. I'd call at noon
Yeah.
because I knew if somebody answered the phone at noon,
That
usually somebody got one.
Yeah.
And I'd call and Lloyd or Mike or one of those guys would be there. And I'd be
Danny.
like, Danny. I'm like, he hung up on me once, remember? And he said,
Yeah.
what are you calling here for? I was taking a nap. And I'm like, I was calling to see if you guys got a deer, dude. I'm looking forward to it. Another story that I think of, and I think this might have been the 6-pointer, Skip. Remember the rocking chair hollow buck?
Yep.
So we got this spot.
Short
that
shot.
Who named it rocking chair hollow? Let's
I think he did.
Yeah.
Because originally when we first went up there,
Oh, when I shot my first deer,
Deer.
I sat in
a
that
142-pound doe.
Yeah. After I'd missed a massive buck the day before.
That's right.
Did
My
you
gun-
punch yourself at all when you?
Oh
shot
yeah,
that?
I still have a Charlie horse on my right leg because I emptied my gun like 4 or 5 shots. Long story short, it turned out my gun was shooting like 11 inches high. I had a $35 3x9 variable scope on my gun, so who knows what the hell the problem was, right? It was can't even remember the name of that old brand.
Bushnell.
Bushnell.
Yeah, it was.
Bushnell. And then when I shot at that deer, but the rocking chair part came, I found this tree stump thing that a recliner is not more comfortable than.
Yeah.
And I sat in that thing, and that doe walked out in front of me, and I kept seeing it look back, and I said, it's got to be the doe that was with the big buck I missed. But we only had one, like 2 days to hunt. It was a short window. And this back was when it was, you could shoot a buck or a doe then. And finally I said, I'm not letting this deer walk. That deer is a big deer. And I shot, and the deer just stood there and looked at me. And I went, I got to be shooting higher. I lowered it, and I hit her. I spined her, and got her. But
So that's how it got its name, rocking chair hollow.
rocking
Yep.
chair hollow.
And it's a big just bowl of hardwood, and you can see
Yeah.
For a long ways.
long ways.
And some clear shots, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I remember, I think this is one of the first years I'd come up. I was hunting along the edge of the swamp, and I hear, I think 2 shots, or was it just one?
No, when I dropped it, it was just the first shot.
And so I hear the shot, and I'm like, that's not too far from me, and I'm probably one of our guys. So I go, and again, no radios, and so I head towards the sound, and I get, snow on the ground, and I look down, and I see where Skip had been sitting. And then I look way down through the hardwoods, and I see this little itty-bitty orange dot. And I'm like, oh, well, there's Skip. He must have sat here, got up, and been still hunting when he shot the buck because it looks like he's got one down there. So anyway, I get down there, and I'm helping him dress the deer, and we're chatting this, that, and the other thing. And I look back up, and that's what it was. You start telling me the story.
Yeah.
What happened, Skip? Did you just drop a Skippy
One,
fire?
yeah, one of those.
Well, and now it feels now, now it feels like hunting camp.
Yeah,
Holy moly.
This is
There
hunt
it is.
camp.
Wait. That's a Skippy fart. Oh man, that was
But
organic.
That was a 300-yard shot.
Offhand.
Yeah, offhand. That's the best shot I ever had.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because you're telling me, I'm sitting there and I see a deer, and I'm like, oh, it's a doe. And then you pick the scope up, and you're like, oh, it's a buck. Boom. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute. You said you were sitting. Were you sitting up there? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, Skip, that's got to be 300 yards. Yeah, I guess maybe it is. I mean, I just walked it. It was all 300.
And you dragged that one out too.
I gutted it, and I don't think I gutted it.
No,
No, I don't
Did
think.
that.
I think I got a lesson. I think did you do it?
we together.
Yeah.
Because you're not a big fan.
I'm trying to talk to him. He can't hear a thing because he's trying to get to me.
Yeah.
I'm hollering up through the woods.
And that was, I thought Stan met us at the end of that road and threw that deer. Because I remember we got to the end and it was like a big blowdown.
Yeah, that's when we came out over by the other pond.
Yeah, the other road.
So
cuts
different
across-
deer?
Yeah, different deer.
Two
different
memories
deer.
merged.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's still deer.
Still deer. The only deer I've ever, speaking of gutting, dry heaved on was that one that
Oh.
Drew had shot over there in Maine.
Maine.
And we found it the next day. That was terrible. Yeah.
And he didn't want to get up and go over to go
Yeah, even
with
go
you
look
guys.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember I asked him, like, tell me exactly how far was the deer, how did he respond, and I just remember that morning waking up being like, we got to go look. It sounds like that deer's hit hard.
Oh,
The way-
it was hit. 'Cause when I followed it where he shot at it and everything, where he showed me when I got down there, I followed it in a little bit of snow. Then I followed some blood, and I got to the brook where there's a small little brook, and it had rubbed up against some brush, and I got across there. I found a little bit more. Then I lost it completely. I just couldn't find it.
Yeah, when I went down that brook and went up the bank, and then I got.
Yeah.
So long story short, we ended up going. Made a plan the next morning. We're going to go all look. We're going to at least give
Yeah,
it the morning and
You,
get
me,
7 of us in
you,
there.
me, Greg, yeah, everybody.
And so I had picked up the blood and tracked it for quite a ways, and we found a couple big spots of blood. But now it's 24 hours plus past when he'd shot it, and then all of a sudden we get down that road and we'd pretty much given up. And Greg gets on the radio. I got a dead buck right here. We found it.
It was a nice size one, too. That was 181 pounds, I think.
It was a good sized buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you guys were dragging out, when I came down with my vehicle to that bigger brook, before you guys even got to the brook, I could smell that deer
Yeah.
over there. I mean, I was a good 70 yards away, and I
Oh.
could smell that thing.
Yeah, it was kind of warm.
He was a little bloated. It was like 50, and I poked that friggin' knife in, and oh,
Well, you tried, Greg tried, and then I did it.
Good thing the brook was there. They tried to rinse it out in the brook there, and that still didn't work.
yeah. He ended up losing that, right? It wasn't any good.
No, we took it down, weighed it, and everything, and there was a game warden down there at that time. And we talked to him, and he says, I don't think it's going to be any good. So we got it back home, and we ended up disposing of it.
Yeah. Glad we found it, but obviously not the way you wanted it to end.
I mean, when I brought it home.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we've had some good ones. What was the year that we went 6 for 6? Is that the year Greg shot his big
No.
10-pointer or whatever?
No, because Alan was here then.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan was here when he got the big one out. And there again, where he got that big one is where you and I
That hole.
got ours.
Well, you think about those ridges right there.
Oh,
I got
yeah.
one 2.25, 214. You got one 205. You killed how many in the 190s?
Oh, 90s
Yeah,
up there.
yeah. Well, yeah, one
3
of the
or
first
4?
ones.
First one
Yeah.
shot was
The
the
fir-
one.
Well, there's a
First
good one.
8-pointer?
Tell that story. Because that's cool how you went. Tell that story.
What, the 8-pointer?
The first one.
The one that's hanging over the
Yeah.
TV? Yeah, well, this is before we had GPSs and
So
stuff.
this is the same ridges where we kill all these
Same
bucks.
ridges,
I mean,
yeah.
it's got to be double digit, 180 plus bucks with a few over 200, all on these ridges.
Yeah, and we went up there like on a Monday night instead of a Tuesday night so we could muzzle load. I had a muzzle loader because New Hampshire muzzle loader season's before.
Huh.
So on Tuesday, I'm muzzle loading hunting, and I come up over this ridge, and I jump these deer, and there's 2 big-ass deer go running away from me. I couldn't see them. I couldn't see what they had on their head or anything, but I knew one of them was a buck, a big buck. And so Wednesday, the following day, is the first day of rifle season, and I said, I'm taking a beeline. I'm going to go try to find that flat and see if I can find those deer. And for 2 days, I could not find it. I didn't have a GPS location or anything like that. I was just going based on, looking at the terrain, trying to get back to the same spot. And I'd never hunted there before. And like on day 3, all of a sudden I come up to the top of this knob and I went, bingo, this is it. This is where this deer was. And so I did a slow sneak to the top of the ridge, and I'm looking down on the flat where I'd saw him before, and there he is laying there.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. In the same clear-cut type of spot, he's just laying there looking around. And there was kind of a game path that went down towards him, and I was like 150 yards away from him at that point, and I went, I don't want to take this shot.
He's laying in his bed.
He's laying in his bed. And I get on my hands and knees, and I do a belly crawl down this path till I close the gap to like 80 yards. And I decide, well, I got to stand up so I can shoot, you know, because I couldn't see him good I was hiding from him. And I grab a tree to stand up, and I'm looking at the tree shaking above my head. And I went like, no, let go of the tree. Don't shake the friggin' tree. So finally I came to my feet and I shot him. But, you know, but again, it was the day before the GPS. I couldn't find it. And that deer was in the same exact spot 4 days later.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about that deer, too, it was 196 pounds.
196 pound.
Yep.
Not a huge rack buck.
But
eight-pointer.
the thing was, there was a father and a son that stayed at our camp that got invited there. And they decided they were going to leave. They were going to go get a guide. And we're all thinking, go get a guide? Bobby just shot a 196-pound buck, and you're going to go get a guide.
The day they arrived at camp. The day they arrived at camp, because the dad I didn't know where I was. I didn't even know where I was. I said, I'm just going to drag. I got to find a road because it was getting late in the day, and I came down to a clearing, and it had a road that went down to the road. A road. And the guy's car that was parked there happened to be the guy's dad because they had just arrived, and he was out riding the road, and I went, oh, sweet, give me a ride. You know? Yeah.
The one thing that seems to always happen to me, though, is I'm never around. Because, like, all that happened, and I got down there, and I saw your buck. I saw him come down with the Jeep, and it was on that back rack.
Yeah, he had a rack. Yeah.
And I was all pumped, but I'm like, because I'm always off miles away from you guys, usually.
Yeah.
Chasing something.
Deer.
Usually deer.
But you're here.
I am here. Yeah, no, that's all that same ridge, the 214.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is
It is all that same ridge.
where I shot my 2 1/4.
And Smoot shot a good deer up in there somewhere, too, one time.
Oh, well, yeah. Plus, I got that, further down, I got that 184-pound big, tall rack 8.
Yeah. Yeah, on the other side of the ridge.
And then that year when John and I double-teamed that 8-pointer, he shot that one. And then the next day, you and I double-teamed that 7-pointer for the longest time. And then we got to the top of the ridge, and you're like, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to head this way.
I'm going to go
like,
get the truck. Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know me, I'm not stopping. So I'm going to stay on him, go pick me up, do the 15-mile loop. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I caught up to him and shot him.
Yeah, and you got a dead deer in some guy's camp that I didn't know, drinking beer with them in their camp.
That worked out pretty good.
Yeah, for you.
That worked out
For
pretty
you.
good. Because I helped John drag his buck out the day before.
Yeah.
So that's a bit taxing on you. And then I dragged that deer out. And I didn't know where I was exactly. And I ended up dragging it right out through their backyard. And I went over and was like, hey, guys, sorry. I didn't really. And they're like, oh, no, it's great. Let's see him. And it was a big buck. So they went over and looked at it. And they're like, you want a beer? I was like, yes, I do. So the 15, it's all 15 miles to go around there. It's got to be.
Oh, the drive. Yeah.
So it was
Sure is.
so he had to hike out of the woods, drive all the way around. And you heard me shoot, though.
Yeah, I knew you got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by the time you got back to your rig and drove around, it was like an hour. So I had a couple beers in me.
You're yelling at me like, what took you so long? I went,
I'm like,
I've been driving for an hour.
well, like the one in Maine there, too, the same thing.
Oh,
with that
yeah,
one.
the same thing. Yeah.
But that's what I loved about, and still do, hunting with you guys, is I can just, Tasmanian woods devil it, as Greg would say.
Yeah.
And
that's the way we always do it. Like
Everybody's going to be accountable.
No man left behind. Like the guy that we go
That's
out in
right.
the woods at 2 o'clock in the morning, fishing game, and saying, they'll come out in the morning. I went, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we don't want to leave them out there all night.
I think the only one we ever left out there all night was Jamie. And me almost.
And we didn't really know him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that morning Jamie gets up. Jamie Savage, he's been on our podcast. He's the one that has that double team video on our YouTube channel. Jamie, we get up that morning. He's like, listen, guys, if I don't come back, don't come look for me. I got a sleeping bag. I slept in the woods
Can't do
before.
that.
Yeah, we're like, it's not how we roll. We're going to come look for you.
Yeah, remember how much snow there was that night? too?
Yeah.
That was
You know,
insane.
Yeah, there was a lot because I almost got stuck out there looking for him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, we drove way out that road, way
Yeah.
out there, and we got, we started getting higher and higher, and
It was
you
bad.
You were in four-wheel drive. The snow was coming up over the hood, and we were
Yeah.
like, all right, maybe we're not going to go any further.
Worked in the new bumper on my truck because I banged it against the bank and spun the truck around.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Again, I wish Alan was here now that we're talking about spinning the truck around. Remember the time we were driving up the road where you shot that?
Yeah. Yeah.
The 8-pointer. Well, which 8-pointer? One of them.
Yeah.
We're going up this road, and it's got some grade to it. And all of a sudden, we're not going up. We're going down. Backwards.
Yeah.
And we're picking up speed. All of a sudden, my passenger door opens, and Alan's about ready to head out.
Yeah.
40 years of camp. We got some stories, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, Stu, what was the first year you came up?
I think it was second year after I met you
Yep. Down in
down in Punta Cana.
yeah. We met on a beach, and now he's hunting up north with us.
Yep.
And you have,
So like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you've been here for a few stories, and you're going to make one of your own this year, aren't you?
I hope so.
Kill a big buck.
Hope so. Came close. Came close last year.
Yeah.
Things like to run in front of you. Especially when you're on the phone to Big Daddy.
And Stu's got some new knees, one new knee, right?
Two.
2 new knees, so he's doing better. So,
Yeah.
So
this is going to be the year.
you just turned.
I don't know. I can't find my direction in the woods anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skippy had a little scare last year, ended up losing a couple toes. How many did you
Only
lose?
5 of them.
Just 5?
Yeah.
On 1 foot. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 foot.
So, Dad, you just turned 72?
1, excuse me.
73?
Jesus Christ. 71.
See, I tell
Yeah.
you, your own son doesn't know your birthday, and
Trev,
I
I'm
do.
not even that bad. Come on. I knew
Yeah.
how old he was.
And Big Daddy, you're
I just turned 72.
Yeah, see,
Just turned
he's freaking old.
72.
Yeah.
And Stu, how old are you?
63.
60. So you're a young bum.
He's a freaking
yeah.
puppy.
Yeah.
So he's part of the drag team. Greg's how old? 50-something?
50s, yeah.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
Greg's dragged more of my deer than I have. That's what I like about Greg. I helped him drag a few of his. too.
One year I felt like all I did was drag people's deer out of the woods.
Yeah, you did.
I think I dragged like $5.
Five of them you dragged out that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've helped Greg drag plenty, and he's helped me drag plenty. That one he shot where we drove from New Hampshire into Maine was an epic adventure.
Yeah.
We'll save that one for another podcast when Greg actually makes it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 40 years. I'm glad that we got together to do this. Maybe we'll do one, bring this podcast equipment to camp this year. Skippy, you coming?
I'm going to be somewhere.
So
one,
our
one,
traditions-
of, one of the 2 camps.
Our traditions have changed a bit, partially because of me. I'll be the first to admit it. I like to check
Change
out
it
new
up.
country.
Change it up.
Yeah, and
Hey,
Which
I have no problem. I miss hunting in Maine the last couple of years
Oh yeah.
because I loved it over there. I mean, you get a couple of deer and
Yeah, and we try
It's
to
nice.
we try to stick close enough to the borders where we can hunt both states. and-
right.
well, and I came. One of the big reasons why we came last year was because I knew it was 40th, and
Yeah.
you kind of had expressed wanting to hunt back at camp, and
Yeah.
I love hunting here. I love the woods here. It's just, to me, I like new country, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of liking what I'm exploring over there. I mean, the last, I want to say 5 bucks I've killed, I've never hunted where I killed the bucks before.
Right. Yeah.
Even the one I shot this year over here was an area we'd never hunted before.
Yeah, right.
You're-
No, totally.
I just
Yeah.
liked the looks of it and started hunting it. And,
Yeah, and Greg got one there too. Same kind of area.
Yeah. So, and that's what I love is, you just expand and expand and expand. I mean, on my way up here, I'm starting to realize, I'm like, well, I've been in those mountains. I've been in those mountains. I've been over there. I'm like, you know what? I haven't been on that mountain. Yep. I got to go up there.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest things that Travis brought to our deer hunting camp. When we used to always hunt the same places because they were good.
Yeah.
You remember? We'd
Like
say-
out behind the old.
Yeah, the old farmhouse.
farmhouse.
And we go like, And Travis goes like, why you guys keep going there? Well, because it's always been good. And we tell the stories about the $10 we shot up there.
Yeah.
And he goes, I know, but we've been hunting here for 5 days. And nobody's seen a friggin' deer. And so then
But that happens.
Yeah, but then we would move 2 ridges over and bang, there's the deer. So I think that was the biggest thing he brought to our group was like, well, guys got to move around, you know?
Yeah, and we graduated where we go, where the streams are and stuff that we hunt, that we graduated over there after we shot it. You hit that deer with a bow.
Hit the deer with a bow.
And we dragged this halfway around the country, never found it, but we went to different areas because I remember picking Travis up. I said, Travis, I'm down there driving down on that road down there, and you wouldn't believe the number of deer tracks down there.
Yeah.
So I picked him up, and we went down. It was a million deer
Well, and
tracks.
you were always good for exploring, too, because Skip would just go for a ride and be like, we got to check that country out.
Yeah.
And then we go there, and we end up hunting there for, 2 or 3 years, kill a few bucks, and we'd move on.
Well, and the time that I wounded that deer, I'd already shot a deer.
Right.
And that was you'd shot a big buck, and that was a big buck.
Yeah, and that was an 8-pointer with my bow. And I tracked him until it was really late. And only because of your exploring, all I remember was you saying, if you keep going west, there's another road down there.
Yeah.
Because I'm going like, I have no idea where I am as far as that road was concerned. Because no GPS or any of that kind of crap. No
Right.
radios. And I said, if I have to turn around and go back the way I came, I'm going to be 2 hours walking out in the dark.
Oh, yeah, because where you hit that thing.
Yeah, and so I cut down the bank and I went like, oh, Skip was right. There was a road down there.
Yeah, and where that deer took you, it's unbelievable. It made it that far, and it was still bleeding like it was, and never found it.
That was like the buck that I'd missed. Remember the big one that we started this whole conversation on?
Yeah.
The big one that I missed? Remember the next year he shot at that
Same
one.
place.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it was you. There was snow on the ground. And were we tracking the buck? I think we were tracking that buck.
We were right in that area. I can't remember.
No, we were. We were tracking that buck. We were following that buck track. And all of a sudden, his track came onto it. We'd heard the shots, and then we started putting it together. We're like, whoever's this track is saw this buck because they are taking it. We were taking it through shitholes.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, I don't think we even caught up to him. We went down to the road, and then Skip must have walked the road back. And it was later we got back to camp. He's like, yeah, it's one. We're like, we knew it. We knew whoever was on that track had to have seen it. Or
I went down in that gully there instead of going up the ridge again where that deer kept going. I said, I got to get out of here. Not 100% chance. And when I walked down there, and you were talking about a guy having a beer and everything, well, I came into this camp down there from those Connecticut guys, and the guy was standing out there drinking a beer.
Connecticut guys, too.
Guy was standing outside his
Blue
camp drinking a
plates.
beer, and I'm thinking, geez, like you said, I could use one of them out right now.
There's Kirsten and I did Lafayette on Sunday, hiked Lafayette, and I'm not drinking right now. But there is something about a cold beer after a long, hard day of hiking, working, hunting. I don't know what it is, but man, I wanted one, and you telling that story, when you
It
when
quenches
you
your
work hard,
thirst.
it sure does. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate it. Appreciate y'all coming up.
We got a million more stories. You just can't bring them all up.
Well, there's more
at one time.
podcasts. Yeah.
We'll do another one. I mean, like I said, I can bring the equipment up for our main 5 weeks. We got that place rented this year. I'm pretty stoked on that. And hopefully we'll have a few more stories to tell. And I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Northwoods Whitetails. Catch you on the next one.
No one can save you. You better run.